This is part 3 of the Plants vs. Zombies Heroes Nuzlocke, where if a plant dies, it's dead for good, and I cannot use it again. Any additional rules will be in the description, and my goal is to beat every plant and zombie mission. Before we get started, let's go over a few new things. Returning viewers may notice that I changed up the structure of how the video looks. Most notably, I got rid of the graveyard because I felt like it was just a bit too much of a spoiler. It's still there, but it's going to be moved to the end of the video from now on. I also felt that including my deck and the opponent's deck would give a better idea of just what's going on in any given battle. Otherwise, I did a lot of grinding in between videos and got a handful of good cards for it, the most notable ones being Secret Agent and especially Gargantuar's Feast, both of which I'm including in what's now my main zombie deck. With all that out of the way, let's get started with the zombie missions. I really didn't want to do them. Going against Chompzilla with Devour seemed like an actual nightmare, especially since quarterly bonus finally got nerfed. But it was eventually gonna have to happen anyway, so I just wanted to get it out of the way. My strategy going into all of the Chompzilla fights was just to use Electric Boogaloo and stall until I got Garg's Feast. That is my entire strategy. Unfortunately, my very first attempt with this did not go well. I wasn't able to get enough tricks to stall, and before I even knew what happened, a Fume Shroom killed Electric Boogaloo. Since the zombie hero died, I had to randomly kill one of my zombie cards, and this time I had to kill Surfer Zombie. Definitely not as bad as Alien Ooze, but still a very unfortunate loss since it had Amphibious and was pretty strong. Stalling went a lot better the second time around. I was able to take out pretty much everything Chompzilla played easily, but at the end, when my hand was full, I still didn't have Gargantuar's Feast, so I had to play something else. None of Chompzilla's plants had more than 3 attacks, so I decided to play Kangaroo Rider since it had 4 health, and if it got hit, it would heal back to full and be back in my hand. I played it on the roof to dodge Solar Scorch and just prayed that she didn't have Devour. But she did, and Kangaroo Rider went down. This really sucked. Normally Kangaroo Rider is a pretty mediocre card, but for a Nuzlocke, their ability to keep bouncing into your hand and staying safe could have kept them alive if they were just against any other hero. Now that Devour was gone, I really had nothing to fear, so I decided to play a Cosmic Yeti and a Total Eclipse since Chompzilla didn't have anything that could kill it. I got Space Pirate, and by giving it a sugary treat, it had 9 attack. Chompzilla didn't play anything to counter it, so he was easily able to take her out. Still, I had already lost 2 very solid cards against Chompzilla already, and especially with Kangaroo Rider, I feel like I didn't even have much choice. By the way, this is by far the easiest of the 3 Chompzilla fights. This is gonna suck. Next up is a fight against Grass Knuckles, who isn't a very difficult hero to deal with. His only way to deal direct damage is with his signature superpower, and since it only does 2 damage, honestly, Time to Shine is probably more dangerous. I brought Rustbolt along to try and get a quick kill this time, and since I started the fight with 2 team mascots and a rock wall, as long as I didn't screw something up, this was gonna be an easy fight. I waited for a turn to play the team mascot, which was a wise decision because otherwise it would have died to a repeater. After that, I gave the first team mascot a rock wall, the second one an escape through time, and just put the third one there because there's no kill like overkill. It was an easy fight. After that, it was back to Chompzilla, and I was yet again able to counter everything she played, but I still wasn't getting Gargantuar's Feast. It looked like it was just going to be a repeat of the last Chompzilla fight. Thankfully, I got it at the last moment, and I was able to play it. But it wasn't strong enough to kill Chompzilla in 1 turn, so I did still have to worry about Devour in the following turn. I put down Mystery Egg just in case, but Chompzilla didn't play anything, and while she could have gotten Devour from blocking, the Gargantuar throwing Gargantuar rolled a 1, so the fight was won without any deaths, thank God. Next up is a fight against Rose, who's a very interesting hero to fight. Her only damaging superpower is Weed Whack, but she also has Transmogrify and Goatify, which can turn our zombies into weaker zombies. Yes, that can mess with our strategy, but usually it's better to lose a weak zombie over something I really care about. Anyways, I got 4 team mascots in this fight. Yeah, this one was a free fight, we're moving on. Finally is the Chompzilla boss battle, and this is the first truly difficult fight in the game, thanks to her deck. The plants here are really strong, especially Laser Bean, and with Fertilize and Plant Food to buff them even more, honestly we can't really stall this fight, and we're not going to be able to make it out of here without a few sacrifices. Do you want to know the best part? I forgot to record this fight and the next 3 fights, so I'm just gonna have to improvise in terms of showing you how it all happened. Fun. Hello everybody, and welcome to my presentation on what happened in the 4 fights that I forgot to record. Let's get right into it. Now, like I just brought up a little bit ago, there are some really dangerous cards in this deck. Fertilize and Plant Food are great at boosting all these plants, and Boomerang and especially Laser Beam are really strong strike-through cards. If you don't deal with this deck, it's gonna kill you really quick. I wanted some cheaper removal options for these big monsters, and that's why I decided to switch my hero to Super Brains. This guy's got cut down to size and rocket science, which can definitely leave an impact on these huge monsters. The fight started with Chompzilla playing a Peapod on turn 2, and on turn 3, I tried to play a Smelly Zombie in front of it to kill it. Now this was a bit of a risk. If Chompzilla had fertilized, then Smelly Zombie would be dead. But if that wasn't the case, then I'd gain advantage, and who knows, maybe I would win the fight without any deaths. But Chompzilla did indeed have fertilize, and just like that, Smelly Zombie was dead. That really sucked. And what made it even worse was it didn't even matter, because Laser Beam showed up afterwards and I didn't have anything to kill it. I lost the fight and had to spin the wheel, and just like that, Zombot Drone Engineer died as well. That really sucked. 2 great zombies with good health, gravestone, and solid abilities were gone, and I didn't even win the fight to make their sacrifice worth it. I knew I made a mistake switching to Super Brain, so I went back to Electric Boogaloo after that. I got Gargantuar's Feast pretty early on this time around, but Chompzilla was doing a good job swarming during the early game. I played Newspaper Zombie to counter it, and by buffing him a lot and playing some good control generally, I was able to deal with all of Chompzilla's plants. But Chompzilla used Devour and killed my Newspaper Zombie. Now the good news was I didn't have to play around Devour anymore, so I played Pied Piper, and since Chompzilla didn't play anything, it was clear I had won by now. I played Gargantuar's Feast, and I got enough good Gargantuars to win the fight. Notably, Wizard Garg turned my Pied Piper into a Dolphin Rider, which reminded me of some previous tragic deaths. Some things never change. And just like that, all these guys were able to win the fight, but it didn't feel like a win. I lost way too many good zombies for this to feel like a win. Chompzilla is awful, and I am so glad that I am done with her, at least for a while. After that, I decided to do some plant missions so that both the plant missions and zombie missions were on the same page. The issue was, we're up against Rust Bolt for these set of missions, and this is one of the most difficult heroes to go up against because he has an insanely annoying group of superpowers. First of all, this guy's almost always running Rolling Stone, which means that anything with low attack will most likely die the second it gets played. However, he also has cut down to size, which means that anything with too high attack will also get killed. And you might think that anything in that middle ground is safe, but that's where his signature superpower, Shrink Ray, comes in. Because this thing will make anything with 4, 3, or 5 attack still in range of a Rolling Stone, even if it wasn't before. You really can't predict what superpower he has, and you're just kind of screwed. However, there is one answer to this that I had, and that's Gravitry. Since this guy's untrickable, it dodges all the dangerous tricks that Rust Bolt could have, and it was easily able to solo the first fight against Rust Bolt. However, the second fight was a bit more difficult, since it's against Z-Mech, who is by far one of the worst heroes to deal with. He's got 2 of the most annoying classes, Hardy and Crazy. He's got a ton of superpowers that buff his zombies in order to make them more likely to kill my plants, and some superpowers that just deal 3 damage and will kill my plants directly. He's actually awful. I tried to switch over to Green Shadow to get some really strong plants that could deal with the early game push of Z-Mech, but it just did not work at all, and I lost the fight immediately. I had to spin the wheel once again, and this time I lost Sweet Pea, who's probably the most tragic of all these losses yet. I mean, this guy he's got an amazing ability that can easily save plants, and I didn't even get to see it because I lost the fight. Just stupidly. And I think this death, along with the Smelly Zombie and Zombot Drone Engineer deaths, really taught me that you shouldn't mess with a strategy if you have a good one going, because otherwise you're just gonna kill people. In the end, I did switch back to Wall Knight, and Z-Mac just didn't play cards this time. There was almost nothing he had. Gravitry was easily able to solo here. The next fight against Rustbolt was a bit tricky because I wasn't getting Gravitry, and he was doing a pretty good job swarming, so I had to improvise and play 3 Steel Magnolias. Since he didn't have Shrink Ray, thank God, and they were able to buff each other pretty well, these guys were able to defeat Rustbolt successfully. And that is the end of the presentation. Let's go on to the actual footage now. Next up is a fight against Immorticia. Generally, her superpowers aren't terrible, but like Chompzilla, she has the worst zombie superpower in the game, which makes her a lot more of a threat. She's running the superpower Evaporate, which is really bad because it destroys a plant as long as it's taken any damage. Damage isn't uncommon, so while it's not as bad as Devour, it's still really bad and has to be played around. It definitely doesn't help that she's also running B flat, which can randomly kill any of my plants, so I definitely wanted to stall for this fight, but the issue was I did not get the cards for it this time. Especially compared to heroes like Solar Flare, Wall Knight doesn't really have that many great ways of killing zombies for a low cost. My health was getting low, and I knew if I didn't play anything, I was definitely going to lose. Thankfully, Immorticia had already played Witch's Familiar, so I didn't have to worry about Evaporate yet, so I tried to block some guys with a Walnut before playing Cosmos. After the buff, this is honestly one of my favorite cards in the game. Just a few environments, and this thing can be insanely strong. Immorticia thankfully didn't play anything after that, especially B flat, that would have sucked. She also didn't play whatever superpower she got after she blocked, and I honestly suspect that that superpower is Evaporate, but since she was already about to lose and could only kill walnuts with it, she decided not to, which I definitely appreciate. Thanks to Cosmos, I was able to come back and win the fight, despite a pretty slow start. The final Rustbolt fight didn't start well either. Not only did the Let's Rock button stick around for the entire fight, but I yet again wasn't able to get any good stalling cards. As soon as I realized that this wasn't going to work, I started playing some stronger cards to deal with some of these weak zombies. I saved a Squash in my hand to deal with the Shield Crusher Viking that Rustbolt could have played, but he didn't, and Shrink Ray could have been an issue since all of my cards had 3 or 4 attack, but he didn't play it. Eventually, I had control of the entire board, and it was pretty clear that I had won the fight by that point. I healed all of my plants with Geyser to do a ton of damage with Heartachoke, and then Rustbolt blocked and got Shrink Ray, using it on the Cosmic Nut. This was really bad. It only took about a few seconds of thinking to realize that if I did nothing, Cosmic Nut was dead. Rolling Stone would immediately kill my Cosmic Nut, and Rustbolt has 5 of them in his deck. 5! That's not even legal! Now the good news is I did have one way to save it, and that was using Elderberry. By evolving the Elderberry on top of the Cosmic Nut, it would have 5 attack, which is enough to survive Rolling Stone. However, 5 attack is enough to die to cut down to size, and Rustbolt hadn't played his other superpower yet. He could very well have that. And since my rules on evolutions make it so that if the card on top dies, then so does the card on bottom, if this failed, then both Elderberry and Cosmic Nut would go down. But there wasn't really a choice. I wasn't going to let the Cosmic Nut die without even trying anything, so I evolved it into Elderberry and just prayed that he didn't have cut down to size. And so the zombie trick turns showed up, and I mean, do I even have to play the clip? You know exactly what happened. Rustbolt played cut down to size, and that was it. Elderberry and Cosmic Nut both died with 1 superpower. This was definitely, without a doubt, one of the most painful losses yet. I made a mistake, plain and simple, and since the fight was won after that, there was nothing left to do but just move on and hope this kind of thing never happens again. Now, I do have some good news, and that's that this next set of missions is really easy, and that's mainly because a lot of them are against one of the easiest heroes to deal with, Brain Freeze. His cards aren't too bad, and none of his superpowers are a big threat at all, so a lot of these missions were very easy to deal with. I was able to beat a lot of these fights without even thinking, so I'm actually just gonna skip over a lot of them. Don't worry, you're not missing much. There was only one difficult fight out of all 5 of them that I really want to cover. It wasn't the fight against Neptuna. She does have some annoying classes and a few tricky superpowers, mainly the signature, but overall she's not that bad. What really surprised me was that the Electric Boogaloo fight wasn't that bad either, and this surprised me because he is the worst zombie hero to deal with in the game. Not only does he control the 2 most dangerous classes in the game, but he also has 2 superpowers that do 3 damage to a plant and evaporate. While Devour is generally worse, which makes Chomzilla the most scary hero to go against, Electric Boogaloo is just generally the worst one in the game. I ended up deciding to switch over to Solar Flare, and while some previous deaths may make it seem like that's a bad idea, it actually worked like a charm here. I was able to destroy all of Electric Boogaloo's early zombies, and he didn't play much after that. I played Poison Oak and Smashing Pumpkin, and Electric Boogaloo didn't counter this with anything, so I was able to win the fight. I feel like this is a similar situation to the Solar Flare fight from the last video. I feel like once these heroes actually act smart and I don't get super lucky, they may be huge threats. But for now, they're not too bad. Since my first attempt with Solar Flare went so well, I decided to try out the next Brain Freeze fight with her as well. But this was probably a mistake because the next fight ended up being one of the craziest that has happened yet in this series. At the start of the fight, I had almost no control cards, so all of the cards that Brain Freeze played to swarm, I had no real way to stop. My health was getting really low, but I didn't have anything that felt safe to play, especially with a 4/5 Vampire on the field. I had 4 health on the next turn, which meant that if I didn't do anything, I would die. At the same time, I got a card that could potentially save me, that being Venus Flytrap Planet. Playing it with Artichoke honestly would probably just win me the fight, but since I couldn't afford both of them, I could only play Venus Flytrap Planet for now and just hope that I blocked the Vampire. Unfortunately, that hope was in vain, because the second I played Venus Flytrap Planet, Brain Freeze gave the Dog Walker a Vitamin Z. With 2 huge zombies on the field, there was nothing I can do. The fight was lost. Now I will say that since my other superpower was Weed Whack, either of my superpowers would have saved me there. But rolling the 3 there felt amazing. After all the deaths and disasters that have happened just because the block meter hated me, it felt great that it was finally on my side. Now, I was still pretty screwed because I only had 1 health, but since Venus Flytrap Planet was now on the field, I had some options. Since the Dog Walker had been buffed, I couldn't put Artichoke in the Venus Flytrap Planet anymore or it'd die. Instead, I put a Smashing Pumpkin there and blocked the Imp in lane 1 with a Cosmos so I wouldn't die. Brain Freeze didn't have Nibble to kill my Cosmos, so everything was actually able to work out. I was able to heal a little bit and stay alive. My next goal was to kill the Vampire, so I put another Smashing Pumpkin in front of it, while also destroying the Skunk Punk in front of my Smashing Pumpkin with a Berry Blast because I really wanted to play around Nibble. Since Brain Freeze didn't give the Vampire a Vitamin Z, I was able to heal even more, and finally the fight was back on track. Brain Freeze kept trying to stall and even tried to kill my Smashing Pumpkin on the left a few times, but with a Weed Whack and Cob Cannon at the end, I was able to protect it. With that, I had managed to win that fight without any casualties. Definitely my favorite fight so far. That's the last fight for this video, but there's something really important that happened after I finished it that I feel like I need to address, and that's that I broke one of my rules. See, I initially didn't allow myself to buy gems or packs with money, but I don't think the reasoning I gave was accurate. I said it was because I thought it'd give me too many packs or gems, but really just grinding for missions kind of does this anyways, but it takes a lot longer is the big difference. So when somebody really kind and amazing offered me $50 worth of gems on this game, I decided to take the opportunity and expand my collection using them. I feel like this just kind of makes my life a lot easier. It means I have to do way less grinding, and it'll actually make there be less time between these videos, which is nice. This is a pretty big change. I'll have a much bigger collection, and honestly it'll make my decks even more interesting, but that doesn't change that these are still going to be some insanely strategic battles where a lot of plants and zombies are gonna die. It's not a huge change, but it was definitely something I thought I'd bring up. I got a ton of cards here, and honestly, I don't even want to bring all of them up, but I did also get 2 heroes, those being the Smash and Grass Knuckles. So stay tuned to see all the stuff I got next episode. That's it for now, though. I will admit this video was a bit chaotic, mainly because of, the part I forgot to record, but I'm very excited to see where this series is going to go from here. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It helps a ton, and it will make videos like this come out even sooner. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.